Welcome back. You're still watching Power Breakfast on Citizen TV. We continue with the news review. Raila to Ruto, you need me for 2022. That's a big one. That's the biggest talking point this morning. Did Raila say that? NASA leader in visit to Ruto's backyard tells Deputy President he will not succeed in his presidential quest without his support. Raila's shocker over Ruto 2022 State House bid. NASA tacticians' comments on DP's presidential quest likely to confound friend and foe in an already complicated political chessboard. For this discussion this morning, we're privileged to have two gentlemen who could be described as both friend and foe to Raila Odinga. Edwin Sifuna, former candidate for Senate Nairobi, karibu sana, and Senator Irungu Kang'ata from Murang'a. Good morning, gentlemen. Both of them are also advocates of the High Court.
Yes.
Gentlemen, let me start with you, Edwin. Did Raila say this, that the DP needs him for 2022? Because the two headlines seem to suggest the same thing, but in different fashion. Which one is more accurate? That Raila said, you need me for 2022? Or he said, or what he said, it's not been captured yet. Does Deputy President think he can win the presidency without me? Was it a question or a statement?
Well, first of all, knowing Kenyan media and their, penchant for sensationalism, I would not put too much into the headlines. I mean,
you're here courtesy of the Kenyan media.
I will always speak the truth, my brother. It is not something that I do lightly, but experience has shown that the Kenyan newspapers have a penchant for sensationalism. Of course, they know that when they push such storylines, they are sowing seeds of discord in NASA. They have pushed this agenda before. I am sure that even if Raila were to say what he's alleged to say, the fact of the matter is that for you to ascend to the presidency, you need as many people as you can in your corner. And we already see grumblings within Jubilee support, especially in Mount Kenya. We have leaders such as my good friend Ngunjiri Wambugu saying that Mount Kenya support is not assured for Ruto in 2022. So it's only logical that if that support is not assured, probably anyone seeking the presidency in 2022 outside Mount Kenya support would have to seek the support of all these other areas that are essentially Raila's support base.
Are you in a position to clarify or to tell us exactly what...
no, I'm not in a position to do that because I was not at the funeral where the words were spoken.
So he could have actually said. He could have actually said.
With Kenyan media,
but he could have actually said.
I would wait to actually speak to him or actually to have been there or seen the clips myself to comment on that.
Senator Kang'ata, both dailies cannot be wrong. Does Deputy President think he can win the presidency without me? Asks Odinga. That's a Daily Nation. On the Standard, it's more of a direct statement. You need me for 2022. Have you listened to the clip by Raila Odinga? Do you think this headlines could have missed the point altogether?
No, it's a fact that there's no doubt. Everyone knows that President for Kenya 2022 is William Samoei Ruto. So there's an issue of everyone wanting now to join into that bandwagon. And Raila Odinga knows he's just being a realistic person, that he cannot win in 2022. He also knows Kalonzo Musyoka cannot win in 2022. So he's just egging his supporters to join the winning team, which will be led by His Excellency William Ruto.
You must admit, if Raila was to support your candidate, William Ruto, that would be quite something, don't you think?
Yes, from where we sit, by there we'll be very happy. If Raila decides to support Ruto, which I think most likely will do, we shall be happy because we want William Ruto to become the president. And I can tell you, our region, Central Region, we are going to support him 100%. So if he gets support from Raila Odinga, that's okay. So from where we sit, by the way, we welcome each and every leader to support His Excellency William Ruto for 2022. And I can tell you, any realistic politician, any tactical politician, any politician who has a sense of political knowledge ought surely to support William Ruto. Otherwise, you are going to be in the opposition. Doesn't make sense.
You look like you're about to respond.
First of all, I need to point it out that we as a NASA coalition have written in the past few days to the Daily Nation protesting some of the coverage that they've given in terms of the issues surrounding NASA. We have had a series of misleading headlines in the past few days, and the letter is in the public knowledge. So it doesn't surprise me. I mean, one of the things that I would like to hear, instead of my brother Irungu Kang'ata just telling us that William Ruto is the automatic president in 2022, we need to start hearing what it is about William Ruto that is, makes him fit for office. We have not had any arguments other than the fact that there is an agreement between the Kikuyus and the Kalenjin to make him president in 2022. Nobody is taking us through what special skills William Ruto has, or what he intends to do for the country, different from what we have seen when he was deputy president. I mean,
you don't think being deputy president is a qualification enough for you to ascend to that?
It's not a qualification, because at this particular point you are deputizing somebody else. We need to hear what his policies are, and if the track record of Jubilee is anything to go by, William Ruto is the last person we want as president of the republic. Okay,
but Raila Kangata, let me take you back. Do you agree with any of these statements, whether true or not, whether factual or not, that William Ruto will need Raila Odinga's support come 2022?
No, of course, you know very well the Jubilee Party has won twice without the support of Raila Odinga. So, strictly speaking, we don't need him. But if he is a political realist, I think that's the most rational thing for him to do, to come and support William Ruto. But I can tell you, whether with his support or without his support, William Ruto is going to win.
But do you think that probably the DP stands a better chance with Raila behind it?
No, the point is, we have won twice. It's a reality. That is 2013, he was...
With Uhuru Kenyatta as a candidate.
Well, I can tell you the support that Mr. Ruto is going to obtain from our region will be the same support that we gave to His Excellency, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. So therefore, from where I sit, strictly speaking, from a political point of view, we may not need Raila per se. Be that as it may. Of course, when you vie and everyone supports you, if you have support from Luo Nyanza, you have support from Coast, that's okay. Yes. And I think that will even be important, because we'll be going into office with a lot of legitimacy, with a lot of cross-national support. And therefore, from where I sit, I think the statement by Raila Odinga ought to be celebrated, in the sense that he appears to know that there's no way NASA can ascend into the presidency. Most likely, maybe, but of course, he should not come into a coalition with any condition. In the sense, most likely, I'm sure he's angling for a position in our coalition. Raila Odinga maybe wants to become a cabinet secretary, most likely. So let him support William Ruto without any conditionality.
To respond to that.
I don't think I will respond to any of that. It is something that makes sense only in the minds of Irungu Kangata. Okay. The fact of the matter is that, and this is indicative of the problem we have in this country. Fomented by the sham elections of the 26th and the very shocking decision of the Supreme Court. We have gotten to a place where people can actually sit on national TV and say, we don't need half of the country, we don't need so-and-so, we don't need his supporters, because they know for a fact that the so-called victories that they claim...
Can I interject?
Let me finish my point. The so-called victories that they claim were not victories at the ballot. They can sit confidently here knowing that whatever it is coalition you cobble together in 2022, you probably don't stand a chance against their algorithm. Which is why one of the main discussions that we are trying to have in this country is a discussion about electoral justice, and the fact that we need to review how these people end up as victors, quote unquote, and to get to a place where, one of the most saddening bit was the Supreme Court actually acknowledging that you could sit together and look at the votes in Western Kenya and the votes in Coast and say, let those two regions vote. The vote in Mandera, even if they vote all of them twice, it will not count. I mean, it is one of the biggest tragedies, and you can see the expression of that feeling in the things that my brother Rungu Kangata is saying. It's a very dangerous trend for this country, and which is why many of us are convinced that it is time for us to discuss ways in which we can part ways. For those of us who believe in democracy, to have a fair chance of actually, carrying out the democracy in an independent state.
Incidentally, this is the last weekend before that big day on Tuesday. Yes. When NASA intends to swear in Raila Odinga. You wanted to respond?
Yes, my brother should move on from the issues concerning, elections, petition, because you can see the indication of his principle. He has moved on. He's not talking about 2022. So I'm somehow surprised. My brother still talks, I don't know about which election, I don't know what the justice is. Clear Raila is now moving on. Okay. He's talking of 2022. So my brother should accept and move on. But let's just like Raila Odinga.
Let's not talk about NASA and this headline, because I don't believe that both dailies could have actually gotten this totally wrong.
What is the basis of that belief?
Because
it is possible for 10
they
people
don't sit down.
to
The editors at the Standard and those at the Daily Nation do not share an office. They cannot decide, let's have one similar headline tomorrow morning.
Yes.
But now, assuming that, yes, this is factual, Raila Odinga said something about William Ruto's presidential ambitions come 2022. This is bound to have an effect on NASA. And there are already talks of cracks within the leadership of NASA as a coalition. Now, this headline will definitely have an effect on that. What kind of effect do you expect?
Now you have come to my point, because as I said before, the object of this headline is to try and sow seeds of mistrust and
do you think that is exactly what will happen?
No, we are used to this. I mean, as I've told you, we have had a series of very misleading headlines the past few days, and we have taken the step of even writing to the editors at the Daily Nation. So it's not we are used to this. I mean, I have seen our principals. We see these things and we meet and we laugh over them.
But without talking about two headlines, different dailies.
I can tell you for a fact, because you asked the question. This has no effect on NASA, because we have seen such headlines before. A principal like Kalonzo Musyoka, I mean, if you put together all the headlines that have been written about Kalonzo Musyoka and his imminent departure from NASA from way back 3 years ago, you know, and these newspapers have no shame. They never come out to say we got all this wrong because we were pushing an agenda. So even this, we will laugh it off over tea today, and there's going to be no effect.
But such pronouncements by politicians do have an effect. You may say something, whether intentional or not, and it could rub your colleagues off the wrong way. We've seen what has happened to Senator Sakaja and what he did on Sunday, and as such a small gesture, but in politics it becomes something big. Do you think that this headline will have an effect within NASA's ranks?
Yes, there's no doubt that NASA has collapsed. The two principles, the so-called...
is that a fact?
It's a fact, there's no doubt.
There may be cracks.
So, where's the fact?
You see,
surely.
Well, surely, allow me to speak.
Show us the collapse.
You see, the reason why I'm saying it has collapsed is because, number one, you can see how it has been performing in the National Assembly and in the Senate. In the National Assembly, they have been grumbling about distribution of seats. And Mr. Savula, who is a senior ranking member of ANC, has clearly indicated that they no longer support some of the position being held by NASA coalition. We have this other guy, I don't know, yes, Mr. Onyonka, Member of Parliament from Kisii. He led a battalion of several members of Parliament from Kisii to say they don't support some of the shenanigans be done by this other party called NASA, the so-called NASA coalition. And again, also, we have seen statements, we have seen headlines talking of disagreements within NASA principals when they have the so-called secretive meetings. And I have never seen a rebuttal of those headlines. Never in one moment did I see Kalonzo Musyoka. I have never seen Mr. Mudavadi saying that he has been quoted out of context, denying those headlines. So the point is a fact. Indeed, the only person who is now talking about, I don't know what, I don't know that yet, I don't know what, Mr. Raila Odinga, he is now alone. But it appears today, according to these headlines, he is now shifting gears and now deciding how to support Jubilee coalition come 2022.
Do you think Raila Odinga will be tempted to actually come and clarify what he said?
No, absolutely, because these are people who have seen this before. As I've told you, we have even taken the steps. I don't know how clear I can make it. We have taken steps to even write to the editors and protest some of these things. But you know, it is you can see clearly what agenda these headlines are meant to drive. Now, these principles, I've seen it all, my brother. So it's not going to affect anyone. Okay. As to the grumblings in the National Assembly, I mean, if you're a Jubilee member of Parliament, you should be the last person to talk about grumblings in the National Assembly or the Senate House leaderships. We have seen your own president summoning parliamentarians as if he's the one in charge of Parliament to essentially remove some people who were elected as committee chairs, and they have the audacity to tell this country that they were not in their right minds when they were voting. And these are people who call themselves leaders in this country. Okay. So I think Jubilee should be the last people to point to grumblings in Parliament about the leadership of certain committees as evidence of NASA. NASA has been pronounced dead at least 100 times by our colleagues here, but we are still going strong. We have a swearing-in ceremony that is scheduled on 30th. Yes, and you know, contrary to what Irungu Kangata is saying, I mean, even just before he came in, your own media house was playing clips of, on Kalonzo Musyoka, making it very clear that he fully supports the inauguration and is going to be part of it. I mean,
speaking about the, the swearing-in ceremony, another headline on page 5 of the Daily Nation: NASA gives conditions to hold oath. The opposition yesterday said it will only consider suspending the swearing-in of its leader, Raila Odinga, if President Kenyatta agrees to the cancellation of the October 26 election results. This appears to be a new demand.
Again,
now cancellation of election results?
Again, that is misreporting by the papers, and this is something that I have seen them push very hard. The inauguration of Raila Odinga is not a precondition to anything. It is a reclamation of a victory of the election on August 8th. It has nothing to do with whether there is negotiations or anything like that. So I can sit here and comfortably tell you that, you know, absent of a falling sky, there is nothing that is going to stop the inauguration of a people's president on 30th. I mean, people can always talk. We can talk now, we can talk after the inauguration. The inauguration is not a precondition to anything. And, you know, yesterday, I know that maybe reference is being made to the statement that was issued by the chair of the committee, Mr. David Ndii.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very clear that, because a journalist put the question to him, what would it take for you to be able to put off these plans that you have for the 30th?
Mm-hmm.
And he was very clear. He said, if, for instance, the president were to come today and say, yes, I acknowledge that I stole the election on the 26th, or that the election of the 26th was a sham, and that that victory is vacated, let us go back to discussions about democracy. Then that is a discussion that the NASA coalition...
But you don't expect that to happen, do you?
No, I mean, that was what was put out there. I mean, you can never say never, because people have been known to see the light. I mean, even Saul, before he became Paul, was one of the most terrible people, but I'm sure that Uhuru Kenyatta has the capacity to meet Jesus on one of his, you know, many trips.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me take a look at something else happening within the political circles, but this time round in Parliament, and it has to do with MPs' allowances. Now Muturi defends MPs' hefty mileage allowance. If at all you were successful in your bid for Senate, this is what you would have been enjoying. But now your colleague here is enjoying this, and the mileage allowances, even the ones that had been scrapped by the SRC, now will be paid out, and including the car grants. Yes, Irungu Kangata, what do you have to say about this? The chair of the Parliamentary Service Commission, who is the National Assembly Speaker, has actually come out to defend this. You have been here before, and you've actually said that this is not the right way to do it. You've never supported this. Do you still stand to your words?
As you see, now my work as a Deputy Chief of the Senate is to always champion the position of my President, together with the position of his deputy. And his deputy, and the presidency position has been very clear that we need to arrest what we call ballooning, which being in this country. And therefore, I must always restate that position. It's not only their position, it's also my personal position. But I must always champion that position, that this country, we need to send more money to what we call a developmental budget, that we need to check what we call a recurrent budget, that indeed when you look at the rate of growth of the recurrent budget vis-a-vis the rate of growth of the developmental budget, you'll see the former has been increasing twice as compared to the latter. That is, we have more demands. People asking for this, various public servants asking for this. We are talking about 53 or 55% of all our resources going to pay salaries. And we are talking about 700,000 public servants vis-a-vis a country population of about 40 million. So we are taking about half of what we earn to pay 700,000 public servants to the detriment of vast majority of people who are not